In the IELTS Listening Part 1, you'll hear a conversation between two people speaking about renting an apartment. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, I'm John. Can I help you today?
Good morning. Yes, I'm actually looking for an apartment to rent. I heard you could help with that.
Absolutely, that's why we're here. By the way, we often call apartments flats here. Let's start by finding out what you're looking for. How close do you need to be to the city center?
I'd prefer something not too far. Ideally, it should be within half an hour's bike ride from the university. It would be great if there was a bus service nearby as well, just in case the weather turns bad.
That sounds very practical. Do you prefer living alone or with roommates?
I would prefer to live alone. My studies keep me quite busy, and I think it's easier if I don't have to worry about sharing space with others.
Understandable. And how much are you looking to pay in rent each month?
I'm hoping to keep it around £500 a month. Is that feasible?
It's a bit tight, but I think we can find something. You mentioned you're a student. Which course are you enrolled in?
I'm studying English. It's funny. I'm still getting used to all the British terms for things.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
I bet that keeps things interesting. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Montreal, Canada. I grew up speaking both English and French, actually.
Being bilingual must be quite an advantage. What's made you decide to study in the UK?
I've always admired the depth of literature and language courses available here. Plus, it's a great opportunity to experience a different culture.
Absolutely, that sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Well, I'll take note of all this and see what we can find for you. Do you have any specific requirements for the flat?
Yes, it should be clean, bright, and I'd prefer if it wasn't located next to a noisy street. I also need a private bathroom.
Got it. We'll start looking right away and contact you if anything suitable comes up. Do you have any other concerns?
Just wondering, does the rent usually include utilities?
No. Typically, you'll need to pay for things like gas, electricity, and water separately.
Thanks for clarifying that. I'll make sure to consider it when planning my budget.
No problem at all. It was good talking to you, Susan. We'll update you as soon as we have something that fits your needs.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your help.
That is the end of Part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 1. Part 2. You will hear a workshop on sustainable practices in environmental conservation about foraging for wild mushrooms. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Welcome everyone to our workshop on sustainable practices in environmental conservation. Today, we are thrilled to host Chris Willow, a seasoned expert in foraging and sustainable living, who will enlighten us about the delicate art of mushroom foraging.
Thank you for the warm introduction. It's wonderful to be here to discuss not just the joys of foraging for wild mushrooms, but also the responsibilities that come with it. Foraging for mushrooms is a skill that combines outdoor adventure with the culinary arts. The appeal of foraging lies in the ability to discover and consume foods that are not available commercially. However, the practice requires careful attention to detail, especially when it comes to safety. Misidentifying mushrooms can be extremely dangerous, as several edible species closely resemble toxic ones. Therefore, absolute certainty in identification is crucial, and I strongly discourage consuming any mushrooms that have not been verified by an expert. Additionally, environmental factors play a significant role in mushroom safety. Mushrooms are hyperaccumulators of toxins, meaning they absorb heavy metals and pollutants from their surroundings. Thus, it's advisable to avoid collecting mushrooms near industrial areas, busy roads, or any contaminated sites to prevent health risks. Freshness is another key factor in foraging. Unlike the ones purchased at stores, which might be days old when they reach the shelves, freshly picked wild mushrooms offer superior flavor and texture. This freshness enhances a range of dishes, from simple sautés to elaborate gourmet meals. Now let's debunk some common myths about mushroom foraging. It's a misconception that only mushrooms that appear dull or pale are safe to eat. In reality, some of the most vibrant mushrooms are not only edible, but incredibly delicious. It's also important to note that cooking or peeling a mushroom does not remove its toxicity if it is inherently poisonous.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 16 to 20.
Remember, the aroma or taste of a mushroom does not indicate its safety. Some of the most lethal mushrooms are known to have pleasant flavors. Furthermore, wildlife consumption is not a reliable indicator for human safety. Animals have different digestive systems and tolerances to toxins, which can allow them to consume certain fungi without harm. For those living in urban areas, local parks can be treasure troves for a variety of mushrooms, especially in diverse ecosystems. Early morning is the best time for foraging, as you'll face less competition from both human foragers and wildlife, such as deer, which are fond of mushrooms. For beginners, I recommend not going it alone. Joining a group or attending a workshop led by an experienced forager can enhance your learning and ensure safety. Using just a book or an app might lead to mistakes without hands-on guidance. When it comes to conservation, responsible foraging is key. Always be mindful to not over-harvest. Picking only what you need for consumption, avoiding young, immature specimens, and being careful not to disturb the surrounding flora are all practices that help preserve the ecosystem. It's also important to recognize that with the increasing interest in local and wild foods, we must be vigilant about the impact of our activities. The construction of new developments and increased water extraction from local rivers have led to habitat destruction in some areas, contributing to the decline of certain mushroom species. Finally, when you bring home your foraged mushrooms, store them correctly to maintain their quality. A brown paper bag is ideal for transport, and refrigeration is necessary until you're ready to cook them. Washing thoroughly and cooking them shortly after picking ensures you get the best taste and safety. Incorporating wild mushrooms into your diet can open up a new world of flavors. They're excellent in diverse dishes such as stir fries, risottos, and pasta, providing unique tastes and textures. However, if you're trying a new variety, start with a small quantity to see how your body reacts, as sensitivities can vary from person to person. Thank you once again for your attention. I encourage you all to explore the world of mushroom foraging responsibly and sustainably.
That is the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 2. Part 3. You will hear a dialogue about 3 university students, Alex, Jordan, and Mia, collaborating to plan a community event focused on recycling and sustainable living. First, you will have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Hey, Jordan and Mia, thanks for meeting up. We really need to finalize our project for the environmental science course. The deadline's approaching, and it's vital we create something impactful.
Absolutely. I was thinking we should tackle something that could really influence community behavior. What about organizing a community event focused on sustainable recycling practices and the impact of waste on ecosystems?
I like that idea. It could educate the public on proper segregation techniques and the importance of recycling in reducing landfill waste. Maybe we could set up different stations for glass, paper, and plastics, each with detailed information on the recycling process and environmental benefits.
That's a great start. We could also include a workshop on reducing household waste, focusing on sustainable living habits. It might really resonate with the community and foster long-term behavioral changes.
Agreed. Do we know where we could hold this event? We'd need a place that's accessible to everyone in the community.
How about the community center downtown? It's close to public transport, and there's plenty of space for different stations.
Perfect. I'll inquire about booking it. We'll also need to think about how to promote the event. Any ideas?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.
We could use social media, local newspapers, and maybe get the community radio involved. That should cover a wide demographic.
And we should design some engaging materials to hand out during the event. Things like informative pamphlets and interactive guides that explain material recovery facilities and the life cycle assessment of recycled items.
Good thinking. We'll need a catchy slogan too. Something like, "Recycle today for a better tomorrow."
I love it. That's catchy and gets the message across. How about we divide the tasks? Mia, could you handle the promotional materials?
Sure, I can work on the pamphlets and social media posts. I'll start drafting some ideas tonight.
Jordan, can you take care of logistics? Like speaking to the community center and checking if they have the necessary facilities?
No problem. I'll call them first thing tomorrow and start making a list of what we'll need on the day.
Great. And I'll start drafting the workshop content and looking into local experts who might want to speak at the event, perhaps someone knowledgeable in environmental impact assessments.
Should we set up a weekly meeting so we can keep each other updated on progress and any issues?
That sounds like a good plan. Let's meet every Tuesday afternoon. We can use the study room in the library.
Sounds good. I'm excited about this project. It feels like we could really make a difference.
Me too. It's going to be a lot of work, but definitely worth it. All right, let's get started on our tasks and touch base next Tuesday.
Thanks, both of you. This is going to be great. See you next week.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 3. Part 4. You will hear a lecture about urban expansion and wildlife. First, you will have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we will delve into a crucial topic within the discipline of environmental biology, the anthropogenic impacts of urbanization on wildlife biodiversity. As metropolitan areas expand, they engender significant alterations to natural habitats, thereby posing substantial challenges for indigenous wildlife. Let's elucidate the primary effects and explore some viable mitigation strategies. Firstly, urbanization precipitates habitat fragmentation. This ecological phenomenon occurs when expansive, contiguous areas of habitat are segmented into smaller, isolated patches, often due to construction and urban sprawl. This fragmentation can severely disrupt the foraging patterns and reproductive behaviors of various species. For example, small mammals and avian species frequently struggle to locate adequate nutrition and nesting sites within these altered landscapes. Furthermore, the escalation of pollution is a major deleterious effect of urbanization. Air, water, and soil contamination can have catastrophic impacts on urban wildlife. Bioaccumulation of toxicants like heavy metals and persistent organic pollutants in the bodies of urban fauna can lead to decreased fecundity and elevated mortality rates. Moreover, chemical effluents leaching into urban waterways exacerbate these problems, affecting aquatic biota and contaminating the trophic levels relied upon by both birds and mammals. Photopollution and sonopollution also present significant issues. Urban centers are inundated with artificial illumination and perpetual noise, disrupting the circadian rhythms and natural behaviors of nocturnal fauna. For instance, excessive luminescence can interfere with the navigational and migratory behaviors of birds, while acoustic pollution may obscure critical natural sounds utilized by wildlife for communication and predator evasion. Additionally, the urban heat island (UHI) effect exemplifies another consequence of urbanization affecting wildlife. Urban regions typically exhibit higher temperatures than their rural counterparts due to the extensive use of heat-absorbing materials like concrete and asphalt. This elevated urban temperature can alter the phenology of various plant and animal species, affecting their phenological cycles and thereby impacting growth and reproduction. Phenological shifts, such as the advanced blooming of flora and altered breeding seasons for avifauna, are common manifestations of this effect. To mitigate these negative impacts, several strategies can be implemented. The creation of green infrastructure such as parks and wildlife corridors can provide sanctuaries and facilitate safe passage for urban wildlife. These verdant spaces serve to reconnect fragmented habitats, enabling faunal movement across urban landscapes and promoting ecological connectivity. Implementing robust pollution control measures is also essential. Minimizing the use of agrochemicals and transitioning to renewable energy sources can substantially reduce pollution levels in urban areas. Effective waste management and advanced water treatment processes can also diminish the impact of urban effluents on local ecosystems. In collaboration, urban planners and wildlife conservationists are increasingly pioneering wildlife-friendly urban developments. Initiatives include the installation of bird-safe fenestration to mitigate avian collisions and the design of quieter, darker zones to support nocturnal wildlife mobility. Moreover, promoting the incorporation of green roofs and vertical gardens can bolster urban biodiversity, providing habitats and foraging opportunities for invertebrates and birds. In conclusion, while urbanization poses numerous challenges to wildlife, through meticulous planning and concerted conservation efforts, we can ameliorate these impacts. It is imperative that we integrate the requisites of wildlife into our urban development plans. By fostering this symbiotic relationship, we ensure that urban environments remain habitable not only for humans, but for all biotic constituents. Collaborative endeavors among governmental entities, non-governmental organizations, and community stakeholders are essential, nurturing an equilibrium between urban growth and environmental conservation.
This is the end of part 4.